Under the blistering sun of Wyoming, the ground split open like the back of a rattlesnake. The air was thick with the scent of thirst and dust. From the barren prairie, Mara Whitfield appeared, her dress torn, hair tangled with dirt, and feet bleeding. She had been running since dawn, trying to escape the man who once called her something that belonged to him. Far ahead, a low, crooked ranch house shimmered under a thin trail of blue smoke. Mara collapsed against the fence, whispering hoarsely, "Please, I can work. I can cook, clean, anything. I just need a place to stay." The door swung open. Hank Mercer, a 48-year-old cattleman, stepped out broad-shouldered, wary-eyed, one hand resting near his revolver. "Who are you running from?" he asked. "There's no one left now," she murmured. She sank to the ground, dried blood clinging to her thighs. "Bandage me up and give me work." Hank knelt beside her, steady and calm. "Easy now. You're safe here. When you catch your breath, you can tell me the rest. For now, try not to stain my floor with blood." Mara smiled faintly. "I will try." One was running from the past. The other had already lost everything. Their meeting would change both their lives forever. If you want to know what really happened inside that wooden house, stay tuned. The next part will keep you watching until the very end. Mara woke to a soft yellow light filtering through rough curtains and the faint scent of coffee. Her leg was bandaged neatly, and beside her sat a glass of water and a piece of dry bread. Across the small wooden room, Hank Mercer was cleaning his Winchester, his sun-browned face calm and unreadable. "You are awake," he said in a rough voice. Mara leaned back slightly. "Why did you help me?" Without looking up, Hank replied slowly, "Because this is my land, and no one dies on my land." He poured her a glass of water and pushed it toward her. "Drink, then tell me, are there people looking for you?" Her hand tightened around the glass. "He will not come back." Hank stepped outside to the porch, scanning the horizon out of old habit. When he returned, his voice was quieter. "You can stay until you heal. After that, we will see." Mara nodded firmly. "I can work. I do not want to owe you." "Good," Hank said, with a faint nod. "Around here, lazy people do not survive." There, tiny footsteps echoed. A small boy, about 7, peeked around the corner, clutching a wooden horse. "Sam," Hank said, "say hello." The boy stared at Mara, cautious and silent. Mara smiled gently. "It is all right, sweetheart. You are safe." Hank shook his head. "Kids out here learn to doubt before they learn to trust. He will come around." By dusk, Mara tried to help in the kitchen. Hank, without turning around, said, "You can help best by not falling." She chuckled softly. "I will try." Outside, the wind rustled across the dry grass. Between the silence and the firelight, life began to breathe again. Night fell early, thick and heavy, over the small ranch. In the glow of the fire, Hank sat quietly, eyes fixed on the endless black of the desert. Mara lay curled on the couch, breathing evenly, though her face still bore the traces of exhaustion. Hearing a faint sound, Hank turned. "Feeling better?" "Yes," Mara whispered. "Thank you." He poured her a glass of water. "Drink, then tell me what made you run." Her hands trembled slightly. "He thought I was his property. I just wanted to live like a human being." "In this land," Hank said firmly, "no one belongs to anyone." He opened the pot of soup and ladled out a bowl. "Eat. Out here, weakness means death." Mara ate slowly, her hands shaking. When she set the spoon down, Hank's voice softened. "You can stay. Just do not give me a reason to regret it." She met his eyes. "I will not." Outside, the desert wind whispered through the dry grass. In that quiet, two broken souls began to believe in life again. Morning sunlight spilled through the thin curtains, turning the wooden room golden. Mara blinked awake, needing a moment to remember where she was. From outside came the sound of hammering, and a horse's soft neigh. Hank was already up. Her wound was neatly bandaged. On the table sat a glass of water and a piece of bread. A small gesture, yet enough to draw a faint smile to her lips. Laughter rang from outside. Mara looked toward the door and saw Sam, the messy-haired boy from before, whittling a piece of wood with a dull knife. "Good morning," she said softly. "Father is in the barn," the boy replied shortly. Mara smiled, glancing at the small carving. "That looks nice. Did you make it?" Sam nodded. Hank came out of the barn, his shirt dusty. "Your leg is not healed yet," he said. "Rest a while longer." "I am not used to sitting around," Mara replied quickly. "I can cook or clean something." "Ling." "Suit yourself," Hank said. "Just do not fall again." Their eyes met for a brief moment. The caution was gone. In its place was a quiet acknowledgement. She was no longer just a guest here. That morning, something in the air felt different. It was not peaceful silence. It was a heavy stillness, the kind that made every breath slower. Hank Mercer was fixing a hinge on the barn door, while Mara fed the chickens with Sam toddling beside her, holding a small bucket. The sun had barely risen, its light cutting through a thin veil of dust. No wind, no birdsong, just a stillness that carried a sense of warning. "Be careful not to slip, Sam," Mara said gently. The boy nodded, then pointed toward the horizon. "Miss Mara, there is dust out there." She squinted. A thin plume of dust was moving steadily closer, a rider on horseback. The way he sat straight, the glint of sunlight on the silver band of his hat, it froze her blood. He had found her. Seeing her face pale, Hank turned sharply. "Sam, get inside the house. Now." "But father—" "Go." Hank's tone left no room for argument. The boy ran. Mara stood frozen, fear etched in her eyes. "He will kill you if you try to stop him." Hank's cracked lips curved into a cold smile. "Then let us see if he has the guts." The rider stopped at the fence. His eyes were cold and metallic. Dust clung to his coat, his hands gripping the reins tightly. "Rancher," he rasped, "I believe you are keeping something that belongs to me." Hank stood tall, his gaze steady. "She does not belong to anyone. Turn around before this goes too far." The man laughed, a dry, grating sound. "You plan to shoot me?" "No," Hank said slowly. "But if you take one more step, I will not need a gun." From the porch, Mara clutched the doorframe, trembling, then shouted, "I will call the police! I will tell them everything you did!" Her voice cut through the air like a whip, making the man hesitate. Fear, real fear, flickered in his eyes. The silence lasted for 3 heartbeats. Then he struck first. But Hank was faster, dodging and landing a punch hard as a hammer. The sound echoed across the empty yard. The horse neighed wildly, dust swirling. Mara screamed, and Sam peered through the window, eyes wide in terror. Hank grabbed the man by the collar, slamming him against the fence. His voice was low and cold as forged steel. "Listen carefully. If you come back here, I will hand you to the law myself. And out here, they are not kind to your kind." The man gasped, blood on his lips. "You will regret this, Mercer." "Maybe," Hank said, stepping back. "But not today." The man climbed onto his horse and turned away. As the sound of hooves faded, silence returned, deeper than before. Mara leaned against the railing, her legs weak. Hank brushed dust from his shirt and asked, "You all right?" She nodded, voice hoarse. "He will not come back." "No," Hank said, eyes hard. "Not unless he wants to die." Inside, Sam watched, his fear slowly giving way to admiration. He understood now the woman was no longer a stranger. As sunset fell, Hank sat on the porch, staring at the horizon where the dust had cleared. He knew that from this moment on, his quiet life had changed course. In the west, once the storm whistle blew, no one slept easy again. The sound of hooves faded into the distance, leaving behind a silence heavy as stone. Mara stood by the railing, hands trembling, sweat soaking her collar. Hank wiped the dried blood from his knuckles, eyes still on the far line of the desert. "You should not have done that," she said hoarsely. "He will come back." "If he does," Hank said calmly, "he will not leave again." The door creaked open. Sam peeked out, his eyes filled with both fear and awe. Hank sat down on the porch steps and sighed. Out here, peace is only the pause between two storms. Mara sat beside him, quietly. No words were needed. Their eyes said everything. The next morning, Sam helped her light the stove. His smile brightened the small wooden house more than sunlight could. That afternoon, Mara brought 2 cups of coffee to the porch. "Thank you for protecting me." Hank's reply was quiet. "I did it for the boy." She nodded and smiled faintly. When night came, Hank was still there, watching the dark stretch of the prairie. For the first time in years, he felt like he had something worth protecting. A pale golden morning spread over Wyoming. The wind was light and the sky clear as glass. Hank was mending the horse stable, Mara was hanging laundry, and Sam laughed as he chased a small chick, the first sound of joy after many weeks. Hank glanced over, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Keep the boy away from the stable. The mare is still skittish." "I will," Mara replied softly. "But he is quick." "Then you had better be quicker," Hank said, smiling. He had just turned when a sharp neigh split the air. The horse had broken loose, charging straight toward Sam. Mara dropped the laundry basket, sprinted forward, and threw her arms around the boy, pulling him down as the horse thundered past. Hank caught the rope, yanked hard, and brought the animal to a halt. He rushed over, breathing heavily. "Are you two all right?" Mara managed a weak smile. "We are fine." Sam clung to her, crying. "I am sorry." Low. Hank looked at them, his expression softening. For the first time, he realized she was no longer just a guest. She was family. Days after the accident, the Mercer Ranch began to change. Fear had faded, replaced by the quiet rhythm of 3 people learning to trust again. Each morning, Mara rose early to light the fire and boil water. She always placed 2 cups of coffee on the wooden table, one for Hank, one for herself. He would only nod when he took the cup, but to her, that nod meant everything. She belonged here. Sam changed the fastest. He no longer hid or watched from afar. When Mara told stories, he sat close, eyes wide with wonder. Her voice was warm and steady, filling the house with life. One evening, as they repaired the fence together, Mara asked, "Have you ever thought about leaving this place?" "I used to," Hank replied. "But if I left, I would not know who I am anymore." Mara smiled softly. "And I have been running so long, I forgot what it means to stand still." He looked at her, voice low. "Maybe running is what brought you here." That night, they sat on the porch under the silver moon. Hank said quietly, "Home is not a place we find. It is a place that agrees to keep us." Mara smiled. "I think I have stopped running." In the glow of twilight and the whispering western wind, a new family was born, not by blood, but by trust. If you loved this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay with us for the journey ahead.